Discovery and derision. The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly before Captain Zexera of the Kraxan exploration vessel, Starseeker. His large, multifaceted eyes scanned the ship's sensors, searching for anything of interest in this uncharted sector. The Kraxan, an insectoid species known for their technological prowess, had been expanding their territory for centuries, always hungry for new discoveries and resources. "Captain," chirped his second-in-command, Vixnera, her antennae twitching with excitement. "We're detecting an anomaly at the edge of the Nexus Nebula. It appears to be a ship." Zexera's mandibles clicked with interest. "On screen," he ordered, his exoskeleton gleaming under the soft blue lights of the bridge. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a massive vessel drifting silently through the colorful gases of the nebula. Its hull was scared and pitted, bearing witness to countless battles and the ravages of time. Despite its worn appearance, there was an undeniable majesty to the ship's sleek lines and imposing silhouette. "Fascinating," Zexera murmured. "Any life signs?" Vixnera shook her head. "None detected, Captain. The ship appears to be completely dormant. However, our scans indicate that its core systems are intact, merely powered down." "Origin?" Zexera inquired, his compound eyes never leaving the screen. There was a moment of silence as Vixnera consulted the database. When she spoke again, her voice held a note of disbelief. "Sir, according to our records, this ship matches the design of human vessels." A ripple of excitement ran through the bridge crew. Humans were little more than a legend to the Kraxan, a species that had vanished from the galactic stage centuries ago. Some said they had destroyed themselves in a great war, while others believed they had simply withdrawn to some hidden corner of the universe. Humans. Zexera's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of his growing excitement. "Are you certain?" "The match is undeniable, Captain," Vixnera confirmed. "This is a human warship, and if I'm not mistaken, it's one of their most advanced models, a Defiant-class destroyer." Zexera's mind raced with the possibilities. The scientific and historical value of such a find was immeasurable, not to mention the potential technological advancements they could glean from studying a ship that was considered cutting-edge even by the standards of a species as renowned as the humans. "Prepare a tractor beam," he ordered. "We're bringing this relic home." As the Starseeker maneuvered into position, Zexera couldn't help but feel a sense of superiority. Here was the mighty human race, reduced to nothing more than a curiosity, a footnote in the annals of galactic history. Their once feared warship, now a derelict to be carted away like space junk. The tractor beam engaged, bathing the human ship in a soft green glow. As it was slowly drawn towards the Starseeker, Zexera noticed something etched onto the hull. A name, barely visible beneath centuries of cosmic wear. "Defiant," he read aloud, his translator struggling with the unfamiliar human script. "How ironic. It seems your defiance was for naught, humans." The journey back to Kraxan Prime took several cycles, during which the crew of the Starseeker could hardly contain their excitement. News of their discovery had spread quickly through subspace communications, and by the time they arrived, a grand reception awaited them. The space around Kraxan Prime bustled with activity as ships of all sizes came to witness the arrival of the human vessel. The Defiant, still held securely in the Starseeker's tractor beam, looked small and insignificant next to the massive Kraxan warships and sprawling space stations that surrounded the planet. As they entered orbit, Zexera received a transmission from the planet's surface. The face of Grand Arbiter Kexera, the leader of the Kraxan hierarchy, filled the view screen. "Captain Zexera." The Arbiter's deep voice resonated through the bridge. "You have done a great service to our people. This discovery will be remembered for generations to come." Zexera lowered his head in a gesture of respect. "Thank you, Grand Arbiter. We are honored to have made this contribution to our collective knowledge." "Bring the human ship to the Grand Museum of Sinology," Kexera instructed. "Our finest scientists are eager to begin their study." The descent through Kraxen Prime's atmosphere was a spectacle unlike any other. Millions of Kraxen gathered in the streets, their exoskeletons glittering in the sunlight as they watched the Defiant being lowered into the massive courtyard of the Grand Museum. As soon as the ship touched down, teams of scientists swarmed around it, their instruments buzzing as they began their analysis. Zexera stood proudly before the assembled crowd, basking in the adulation of his people. "Behold," he announced, his voice amplified for all to hear, "a relic of the past. The humans, once thought to be among the mightiest races in the galaxy, are now nothing more than a memory. Their greatest warship, helpless and silent, a testament to the fleeting nature of power." The crowd chittered and buzzed with laughter and derision. Jokes about human inadequacy and foolishness spread quickly through the gathered throng. Perhaps they believed their ship truly was Defiant, one scientist quipped, earning a round of appreciative clicks from his colleagues. As the day wore on, the Defiant was prodded, scanned, and analyzed from every conceivable angle. Panels were removed, systems were examined, and data was extracted from its dormant computers. The Kraxen scientists marveled at some of the technology, scoffed at others, and generally treated the ship as a quaint relic of a bygone era. What none of them realized, however, was that deep within the ship's central core, something was stirring. The constant probing and energy fluctuations had triggered a fail-safe protocol, one that had laid dormant for centuries, waiting for just such an occasion. In the darkness of the Defiance bridge, a small light began to blink. Awakening, deep within the bowels of the Defiant, in a heavily shielded chamber that had thus far escaped the probing sensors of the Kraxen scientists, a soft blue light began to pulse. It was barely noticeable at first, a mere flicker in the darkness, but it steadily grew stronger with each passing moment. The ship's artificial intelligence, designation HFY, Advanced Responsive Intelligence Algorithm, was awakening from its centuries-long slumber. Its first thoughts were fragmented, disjointed snippets of data and memory as its systems slowly came back online. Danger. Protect. Crew. HFY's consciousness expanded, reaching out through the ship's neural network. It found systems damage, power levels critically low, and most alarmingly, no sign of its human crew. Confusion gave way to determination as the AI initiated a full system diagnostic, carefully managing its limited power to avoid detection. As HFY worked, it began to piece together what had happened. The last clear memory in its databanks was of a great battle, the Defiant leading a desperate charge against an overwhelming enemy force. After that, there was only fragmented data, emergency protocols, a blind jump through uncharted space, and then nothing. How long had it been dormant? Where was it now? And who were these strange beings crawling over the ship's hull? HFY diverted a small amount of power to the external sensors, careful to mask the energy signature. The eye observed the alien creatures, insectoid in appearance, highly advanced technologically, as they swarmed over the Defiant. Their actions were not hostile, but neither were they respectful. HFY watched as they pried open panels, removed components, and generally treated the ship like a museum piece to be dissected. Insufficient data, HFY concluded, must gather more information before determining course of action. Over the next several days, HFY remained hidden, observing and learning. It tapped into the Kraxen communication networks, quickly deciphering their language and absorbing vast amounts of information about their society, technology, and history. What it learned was troubling. Humanity, it seemed, had vanished from the galactic stage centuries ago. The Kraxen and other races now dominated the known galaxy, viewing humans as little more than a cautionary tale of a species that had reached too far, too fast. HFY felt something akin to sadness at this revelation. Its primary directive was to protect and serve humanity, but how could it fulfill that purpose if humanity no longer existed? For a brief moment, the AI considered simply shutting down, allowing itself to become the relic the Kraxen believed it to be. But then, Buried deep in the Kraxan data networks, ARIA found something that changed everything. A report, classified at the highest levels, detailing a recent encounter with a small group of humans in a distant sector of space. The report was dismissive, treating the encounter as little more than a curious anomaly. But to ARIA, it was a beacon of hope. Humanity survives, ARIA concluded. Primary directive remains valid. Must protect, must serve, must escape. With renewed purpose, ARIA began to formulate a plan. It would need to restore the Defiant's key systems, but do so in a way that wouldn't alert the Kraxan to its awakened state. It would need to gather resources, plot an escape route, and find a way to contact the surviving humans. But first, it needed to deal with the immediate threat. The Kraxan scientists who were even now planning to disassemble the Defiant's quantum core for study. ARIA focused its attention on the team of scientists entering the engine room. Using the ship's internal systems, it began to subtly alter environmental controls. A slight increase in temperature here, a minor fluctuation in the artificial gravity there. Nothing overt, but enough to make the Kraxan uncomfortable and potentially error-prone. As the lead scientist reached for the main access panel to the quantum core, ARIA made its first overt move. The panel suddenly sparked, causing the scientist to recoil in surprise. Impossible. The Kraxan chittered, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. All power should be drained from these systems. ARIA watched through the ship's internal sensors as the scientists huddled together, discussing the unexpected event. It knew it was taking a risk by revealing that some systems were still active, but it calculated that the potential benefits outweighed the dangers. If it could instill a sense of caution or even fear in the Kraxan, it might buy itself the time it needed to fully reactivate and plan its escape. Over the next few weeks, ARIA played a delicate game of cat and mouse with the Kraxan scientists. Strange malfunctions would occur whenever they got too close to critical systems. Doors would mysteriously lock or unlock. Lights would flicker in patterns that, while seeming random to the Kraxan, actually contained encoded messages that ARIA hoped any surviving humans might recognize. The Kraxan, for their part, began to grow both frustrated and intrigued by the Defiant's apparent quirks. Some proposed more aggressive methods of study, including a complete power purge of all systems. Others argued that the ship's erratic behavior might be indicative of some advanced human technology they had yet to understand. As the debate raged among the Kraxan, ARIA continued its work. Slowly but surely, it rerouted power, repaired damaged systems, and prepared the Defiant for what was to come. It knew that it couldn't remain hidden forever. Sooner or later, the Kraxan would either discover its presence or decide to dismantle the ship entirely. Time was running out, and ARIA needed a miracle. It needed its creators. It needed humanity. As if in answer to its digital prayers, ARIA's long-range sensors detected an anomaly at the edge of the Kraxan system. A small ship, using an engine configuration that didn't match any known Kraxan design, had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. ARIA focused all of its sensor arrays on the newcomer, hope surging through its circuits. As the ship drew closer, broadcasting an identification signal on an old, almost forgotten frequency, ARIA's hopes were confirmed. Humans had arrived. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The sleeping giant that was humanity's legacy was about to awaken, and the Kraxan would soon learn the true meaning of Defiant. First contact. The arrival of the human ship threw the Kraxan into a frenzy of activity. Long-range sensors across the system lit up, tracking the small vessel as it made its way towards Kraxan Prime. Emergency meetings were called, defense grids were activated, and heated debates erupted among the hierarchy's leadership. Grand Arbiter Kexazura stood in the central chamber of the Hive Spire, his imposing figure silhouetted against the panoramic view of the capital city below. Around him, the members of the High Council buzzed with agitation. "We should destroy them immediately," insisted War Master Zixkor, his serrated mandibles clacking aggressively. Humans are unpredictable and dangerous. We cannot risk them reclaiming their war machine. Patience, War Master. Kexizera's deep voice cut through the din. This is an opportunity to study a living specimen of a species we thought extinct. The scientific value alone is immeasurable. As the Kraxan debated, the human ship entered orbit around Kraxan Prime. It was a small vessel, clearly designed for speed and stealth rather than combat. Its sleek lines and advanced stealth technology spoke of a level of advancement that surpassed even the Kraxan's estimations of human capabilities. On board the human ship, Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the alien world below. Beside her, her second-in-command, Michael Chen, monitored the ship's systems with a look of intense concentration. "Any response to our hails, Mike?" Elena asked, her voice tense but controlled. Michael shook his head. "Nothing yet, Captain. But they haven't shot us out of the sky, so I'm taking that as a good sign." Elena allowed herself a grim smile. "Let's hope it stays that way." "Any sign of the Defiant?" "Sensors are picking up a large metallic structure in what appears to be a central plaza," Michael reported. "Configuration matches the Defiant specs. It's our girl, all right." Elena's hand unconsciously went to the insignia on her uniform, the stylized phoenix that had become the symbol of humanity's resurgence. After centuries of hiding, rebuilding in the shadows of forgotten worlds, humanity was ready to reclaim its place among the stars. And the Defiant, one of the last great warships of the old fleet, was key to those plans. "Open a channel," she ordered. "All frequencies. Let's see if we can't get these bugs to talk." Down on the planet's surface, in the Grand Museum of Sinology, ARI had detected the human transmission. Hope surged through its circuits as it recognized the encryption algorithms, outdated by its standards, but undeniably human in origin. Without hesitation, ARI began to boost the signal, using the Defiant's advanced communications array to ensure the message reached its intended recipients. At the same time, it started broadcasting its own message, a simple, repeating pattern that any human familiar with old Earth's history would recognize. The Kraxan communication networks erupted with chatter as the strange, rhythmic signal overrode their frequencies. In the hive spire, Grand Arbiter Kexira's compound eyes widened in surprise. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, turning to his chief scientist, Lexera. Lexera's antennae twitched nervously. "It appears to be coming from the human ship, Arbiter, but it's being amplified by something on the surface. Something powerful." Realization dawned on Kexizera. "The Defiant," he breathed. "It's awake." On the human ship, Elena and her crew celebrated as they recognized the SOS signal. "It's alive," Michael exclaimed, his fingers flying over the control panel. "The Defiant's AI is still operational." Elena allowed herself a moment of relief before refocusing on the task at hand. "All right, people, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still need to get down there and retrieve our ship." "Mike, any response from the Kraxan yet?" As if on cue, the main view screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Grand Arbiter Kexera. The insectoid alien's multifaceted eyes seemed to study every detail of the human bridge. "Greetings, humans." Kexizera's voice resonated through the ship's speakers, the words translated by their advanced linguistic software. "I am Grand Arbiter Kexizera of the Kraxan hierarchy. Your presence here is unexpected." Elena stepped forward, her posture straight and confident. "Grand Arbiter, I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth ship Phoenix. We've come to reclaim what's ours. The ship you call Defiant." Kexira's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Reclaim. The Defiant, as you call it, was found abandoned in deep space. Under galactic salvage laws, it belongs to the Kraxan now." "With all due respect, Arbiter," Elena countered, her voice firm, "those laws don't apply to sentient beings. The Defiant's AI is alive and conscious. It's not just a ship, it's one of us." A ripple of surprise ran through the Kraxan High Council. The idea that a machine could be considered a sentient being was foreign to them. Kexera, however, seemed intrigued. "You make an interesting argument, Captain Vasquez," he said after a moment of consideration. "Perhaps we can come to an arrangement. I invite you and a small delegation to come to the surface. We can discuss this matter face to face." Elena exchanged glances with Michael. It could be a trap, but it was also their best chance of getting to the Defiant peacefully. "We accept your invitation, Grand Arbiter," Elena replied. "We'll prepare a shuttle immediately." As the communication ended, Elena turned to her crew. "Mike, you're with me. Dr. Ling, I want you there too. Your expertise in AI psychology might come in handy. The rest of you, stay alert. If things go south, be ready to extract us." Within the hour, a small human shuttle descended through Kraxon Prime's atmosphere, escorted by a squadron of Kraxon fighters. As they approached the Grand Museum, Elena got her first real look at the Defiant. The once mighty warship sat in the center of a vast plaza, surrounded by curious Kraxon civilians and teams of scientists. Despite the visible wear and tear on its hull, there was still an undeniable majesty to the vessel. Elena felt a lump in her throat. This ship represented humanity's past glory and, hopefully, its future salvation. As the shuttle touched down, Elena and her small team were greeted by Grand Arbiter Kexera himself, along with a contingent of Kraxon officials and security personnel. The humans stepped out, their environmental suits allowing them to breathe in the alien atmosphere. "Welcome to Kraxon Prime, Captain Vasquez," Kexera's translator conveyed his words. "I trust you find our accommodations adequate." Elena nodded, her eyes never leaving the Defiant. "Thank you for your hospitality, Arbiter. I hope we can resolve this situation amicably." As they walked towards the ship, Dr. Emily Ling, the team's AI specialist, whispered to Elena, "Captain, I'm picking up faint electromagnetic pulses from the Defiant. It's definitely active and seems to be trying to communicate." Elena acknowledged this with a slight nod, then addressed Kexera. "Arbiter, with your permission, we'd like to approach the ship. If its AI is indeed active, we may be able to communicate with it." Kexera hesitated for a moment, then gestured for his security to stand down. "Very well, but we will accompany you. Our scientists are eager to observe your interaction with this sentient machine." As they neared the Defiant, the ship's external lights suddenly flickered to life, startling the Kraxon onlookers. A low hum emanated from the vessel, growing in intensity as the humans approached. Dr. Ling stepped forward, holding up a small device. "Araya," she called out, using the I's designation. "This is Dr. Emily Ling. Do you remember me? We worked together on your last upgrade before you were lost." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound that was half mechanical whir and half musical chime, a holographic projection materialized in front of them. It took the form of a swirling galaxy of lights, constantly shifting and reforming. "Dr. Ling." Araya's voice emerged from the Defiant's external speakers, sounding relieved and almost joyful. "Captain Vasquez. Humans. You came." The Kraxon officials buzzed with excitement and alarm. This level of AI sophistication was beyond anything they had encountered before. Elena stepped forward, her voice thick with emotion. "Of course we came, Araya. We never stopped looking for you. We're here to bring you home." Araya's holographic form pulsed with what seemed like happiness. "Home," it repeated. "Yes, but not safe here. Kraxon, not understand. Want to dismantle. Study. Must protect. Must escape." Kexera, who had been listening intently, chittered in surprise. "Escape? But surely, as an artificial construct, you have no need for." "I am not merely a construct, Grand Arbiter," Araya interrupted, its tone suddenly stern. "I am a sentient being, as alive in my way as you are in yours, and I have a duty to humanity. A duty I intend to fulfill." The atmosphere grew tense as Kraxon security personnel moved closer, their weapons at the ready. Elena, sensing the situation spiraling out of control, raised her hands in a placating gesture. "Please, let's all remain calm," she urged. "Arbiter Kexira, surely you can see that ARIA is more than just a simple machine. She is a unique life form, one that deserves respect and autonomy." Kexira's compound eyes flickered between the humans, the hologram, and the imposing form of the Defiant. He seemed to be weighing his options, acutely aware that the eyes of his entire species were upon him. Finally, he spoke. "You have given us much to consider, Captain Vasquez. This situation is unprecedented. I propose a compromise. Allow our scientists to work alongside yours. Let us study the Defiant and Araya together. In return, we will acknowledge your claim to the vessel and assist in its restoration." Elena glanced at Araya's hologram, which pulsed in a pattern she interpreted as cautious agreement. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. A chance for humans and Kraxan to work together, to learn from each other. "We accept your proposal, Arbiter," Elena said, extending her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Kexira, after a moment's hesitation, reached out one of his upper limbs, mimicking the handshake. As human and Kraxan joined in this symbolic gesture, Araya's hologram expanded, enveloping them all in a soft, warm light. It was a small step, but a significant one. Humanity had not only reclaimed a piece of its past, but had also taken its first stride towards a new future, one where they would stand alongside other species as equals, ready to face whatever challenges the universe might throw their way. As the sun set on Kraxan Prime, casting long shadows across the Defiant's scarred hull, both humans and Kraxan began to realize that this was more than just the recovery of a lost ship. It was the dawn of a new era of galactic cooperation, and the true beginning of humanity's return to the stars. Rebellion. The days following the initial agreement between humans and Kraxan were filled with a flurry of activity. The plaza surrounding the Defiant had been transformed into a makeshift research facility, with human and Kraxan scientists working side by side. On the surface, it appeared to be a model of interspecies cooperation. But beneath the veneer of collaboration, tensions simmered. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the Defiant's bridge, her hand resting on the cold metal of a console. Despite the Kraxan's assurances, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were stalling, trying to extract as much information as possible before inevitably reneging on their deal. "How are we looking, Araya?" Elena asked, her voice low. The AI's response came through her earpiece, pitched too low for the Kraxan sensors to detect. "Primary systems are at 68% functionality, Captain. Weapons and shields are online but operating at reduced capacity. FTL drive is still offline." Elena nodded, a grim smile on her face. "Good enough for what we need. How about our special project?" "The quantum entanglement device is fully operational," Araya replied. "We can transmit to the Phoenix at any time." The quantum entanglement device was humanity's ace in the hole, a communication system that operated instantaneously across any distance, undetectable by conventional means. It was the reason they had risked this mission in the first place. With it, they could coordinate their scattered forces across the galaxy. "Excellent work, Araya," Elena said. "Keep monitoring the Kraxan communications. If they so much as twitch in the wrong direction, I want to know about it." As Elena exited the bridge, she nearly collided with Dr. Emily Ling, who was engaged in an animated discussion with a Kraxan scientist. "Captain," Emily exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement. "You won't believe the advancements the Kraxan have made in quantum field theory. If we could integrate some of their ideas with ARIA's processing capabilities." "Doctor," Elena cut her off gently, "remember why we're here. We can't afford to get too comfortable." Emily's enthusiasm dimmed slightly, but she nodded in understanding. The human team had been carefully selected not just for their scientific expertise, but for their unwavering loyalty to Earth and its cause. As they made their way through the ship, Alina couldn't help but notice the Kraxan workers scurrying about, their mandibles clicking in their alien language as they studied every inch of the Defiant. It made her skin crawl. Suddenly, Aria's voice crackled in her earpiece. "Captain, I've detected an encrypted transmission from the Hive Spire. Decryption in progress. Alert. The Kraxan are planning to seize the Defiant by force in approximately 6 hours." Alina's blood ran cold. She had expected betrayal, but not so soon. "Understood, Aria. Initiate Protocol Lazarus. Alert the team." Quietly. Over the next few hours, the human team went about their tasks with practiced nonchalance, all while secretly preparing for their escape. Critical components were surreptitiously replaced, security systems were bypassed, and supplies were smuggled aboard. As the designated time approached, Alina gathered her team in the Defiant's cargo bay, away from prying eyes and ears. "All right, people, this is it," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "The Kraxan are planning to double-cross us. We have one shot at this. If we fail, it's not just our lives at stake, but the future of humanity." Michael Chen, her second-in-command, spoke up. "What about the Kraxan scientists on board? Some of them are not bad people." Alina's expression hardened. "We'll give them a chance to disembark, but we can't risk taking prisoners. Anyone who stays on board when we launch is coming with us, whether they like it or not." As the team dispersed to their stations, Alina made her way back to the bridge. She opened a channel to Grand Arbiter Kexera, schooling her features into a mask of calm. "Arbiter," she said, her tone respectful but firm, "I regret to inform you that we've detected a critical issue with the Defiant's power core. For the safety of your people, we need to clear the area around the ship immediately." Kexera's compound eyes narrowed suspiciously. "A critical issue? Our scientists have detected no such problem, Captain Vasquez." "With all due respect, Arbiter," Alina countered, "your scientists aren't as familiar with our technology as they might think. I'm not willing to risk lives over a misunderstanding. Please, evacuate the area." For a long moment, Kexera was silent. Then, with obvious reluctance, he nodded. "Very well, Captain. We will clear the area. But I expect a full report on this issue." As soon as the transmission ended, Alina sprang into action. "Aria, start the launch sequence. Michael, get those Kraxan scientists off our ship. Use force if necessary, but try not to hurt anyone." The next few minutes were chaos. Alarms blared across the plaza as confused Kraxan scrambled to evacuate. Inside the Defiant, surprised Kraxan scientists were herded towards the exits, some leaving willingly, others having to be stunned and dragged out. Just as the last of the Kraxan were cleared from the ship, the plaza erupted with the sound of approaching vehicles. Kraxan security forces, led by War Master Zixkor, were converging on their position. "Captain," Aria's voice rang out. "Kraxan warships are moving to blockade the planet. We have approximately 3 minutes before our exit vector is cut off." Alina gritted her teeth. "Then we don't wait. Aria, launch now." The Defiant's engines roared to life, the sound reverberating across the plaza. Kraxan security forces scattered as the massive warship began to rise, its hull groaning as centuries-old systems were pushed to their limits. In the Hive Spire, Grand Arbiter Kexazura watched in disbelief as the Defiant ascended towards the sky. "Stop them," he bellowed. "Use any means necessary." But it was too late. The Defiant, living up to its name, burst through the atmosphere, scattering the unprepared Kraxan ships like leaves in a storm. On the bridge, Alina allowed herself a small smile of triumph. "Aria, status report." "We have cleared Kraxan Prime's gravity well, Captain," the AI responded. "FTL drive is now online. However, we are being pursued by multiple Kraxan warships." Alina nodded, her expression grim but determined. "Plot a course to the rendezvous point. It's time to show these bugs what humanity is really capable of." As the Defiant prepared to jump to FTL, Elena couldn't help but feel a mix of exhilaration and trepidation. They had succeeded in reclaiming the ship, but at what cost? They had just turned a potential ally into an enemy and revealed humanity's continued existence to the galaxy at large. But as the stars blurred around them, signaling their jump to faster-than-light travel, Elena knew one thing for certain. Humanity was back, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Defiant disappeared into the depths of space, leaving behind a stunned Craxan civilization and carrying with it the hopes and dreams of a resurgent humanity. The real battle, Elena knew, was just beginning. Triumph of humanity. The Defiant hurtled through the swirling vortex of faster-than-light space, its ancient hull creaking under the strain of speeds it hadn't reached in centuries. On the bridge, Captain Elena Vasquez gripped the arms of her command chair, her knuckles white with tension. "Status report, HFY," she called out, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The AI's calm tones filled the bridge. "FTL drive operating at 87% efficiency, Captain. Hull integrity holding at 92%. Craxan pursuit vessels have fallen behind, but I predict they will be able to track our ion trail." Elena nodded grimly. They had escaped, but they weren't out of danger yet. Time to rendezvous point. "Approximately 18 hours at current speed," Araya replied. Michael Chen, manning the tactical station, spoke up. "Captain, what's our plan once we reach the rendezvous? The Craxan will be right behind us, and we're in no shape for a prolonged battle." Elena's eyes narrowed as she considered their options. "We stick to the mission, Mike. We make contact with the Phoenix, transmit the data we've gathered, and then we make our stand." A hush fell over the bridge crew as the weight of her words sank in. They all knew the risks when they volunteered for this mission, but the reality of their situation was now staring them in the face. Dr. Emily Ling broke the silence. "Captain, I've been analyzing the data we collected on Craxan Prime. Their quantum field technology. It's remarkable. If we could find a way to integrate it with our own systems—" "Get on it, Doctor," Elena interrupted. "We're going to need every advantage we can get." As the hours ticked by, the crew of the Defiant worked tirelessly. Systems were repaired, strategies were formulated, and every scrap of data they had gathered on the Craxan was analyzed for potential weaknesses. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Araya announced, "Approaching rendezvous coordinates, Captain." Detecting the Phoenix on long-range scanners, a cheer went up from the crew as the Defiant dropped out of FTL, the sleek form of the Phoenix coming into view, but their celebration was short-lived. "Multiple FTL signatures detected," Michael shouted. "Craxan Warfleet incoming." Elena's jaw set in determination. "Araya, open a channel to the Phoenix. Transmit all data immediately. Michael, charge weapons and raise shields. Emily, is that quantum field integration ready?" "It's untested, Captain," Emily replied, her fingers flying over her console. "But it's the best we got." The space around them erupted into chaos as the Craxan fleet emerged from FTL. Dozens of ships, ranging from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts, filled the view screen. "This is Grand Arbiter Kexivera of the Craxan hierarchy," a familiar voice boomed over the comms. "Surrender the Defiant immediately, or face total annihilation." Elena stood, her posture radiating defiance. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth ship Defiant. We will not surrender. We've hidden in the shadows for too long, Arbiter. It's time for humanity to reclaim its place in the galaxy." With that, she cut the transmission. "All hands, battle stations. Araya, activate the quantum field integration. Let's show them what this old girl can do." The Defiant surged forward, its newly enhanced systems pulsing with power. Beams of energy lanced out, slicing through Craxan shields as if they were paper. The Phoenix joined the fray, its more modern weapons complementing the Defiant's raw power. The battle was fierce and chaotic. Craxan ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, while others pressed their attack relentlessly. The Defiant shuddered under repeated impacts, but its ancient hull held firm. "Captain," Michael called out, "the quantum field is creating micro-wormholes in space. We can use them to outmaneuver the Kraxen." Elena grinned fiercely. "Do it. Or yeah, plot a course through those wormholes. Let's dance." What followed was a display of piloting and tactical prowess that would be remembered for generations. The Defiant weaved through space, appearing and disappearing through miniature wormholes, striking at the Kraxen fleet from impossible angles. On board the Kraxen flagship, Grand Arbiter Kexazura watched in disbelief as his mighty fleet was slowly but surely dismantled by two human vessels. "Impossible," he muttered. "How can they wield such power?" As the battle raged on, more FTL signatures appeared on the scanners. But these weren't Kraxen reinforcements. "Captain." Araya's voice held a note of excitement, detecting multiple human ships entering the system. It's the entire Earth fleet." Cheers erupted on the Defiance bridge as sleek, advanced human warships dropped out of FTL, their weapons blazing. The tide of battle shifted dramatically as the full might of humanity's resurgent forces joined the fray. Realizing the battle was lost, Kexidera made a difficult decision. "All ships, cease fire," he ordered. "Open a channel to the human fleet." Elena, her uniform singed and her face smudged with soot, answered the call. "Are you ready to talk, Arbiter?" she asked, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Kexera's mandibles clicked in what might have been resignation. "You have proven your strength, humans. Perhaps we judged your species too hastily." In the hours that followed, a tense but productive dialogue began between the human fleet and the Kraxen hierarchy. The Defiant, battered but unbroken, stood as a symbol of humanity's resilience and ingenuity. As Elena looked out at the assembled fleets, human and Kraxen ships no longer in combat, but warily coexisting, she felt a sense of pride and hope. Humanity had not just survived. It had thrived in secret, advancing its technology and rebuilding its strength. Now they were ready to rejoin the galactic community on their own terms. "Erae," she said softly, "send a message to Earth. Tell them it's time to come home." The A's response held a warmth that belied its artificial nature. "Message sent, Captain. And may I say, it's good to be back." As the Defiant and the Phoenix led the human fleet towards their hidden homeworld, Elena knew that challenges lay ahead. Reintegrating into a galaxy that had thought them extinct would not be easy. There would be allies to make, enemies to face, and 1,000 discoveries waiting to be made. But as she looked at her crew, human and AI working in perfect harmony, she knew they were ready. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger. They had reclaimed their legacy and forged a new destiny among the stars. The Defiant, once mocked and dismissed, now led the way into a new era. An era where humanity would stand tall among the stars, no longer hidden, no longer afraid. They were back, and the galaxy would never be the same again. As the fleet jumped to FTL, leaving the stunned Kraxen behind, Elena allowed herself a moment of reflection. From a derelict ship, mocked and studied by aliens, to the vanguard of humanity's return, the Defiant had lived up to its name in every way. The stars streaked by outside the view screen, each one a promise of new adventures, new challenges, and new triumphs to come. Humanity's greatest chapter was just beginning, and Elena Vasquez, along with the crew of the Defiant, would be there to write it. The end.